episode 3 of our podcast, In the House with Jenny and Toni. Toni Singh here, and I have my co-host,
Jenny Woon,
right beside me. How is everyone doing?
Hey.
So we're just so grateful to be here with you. Have you been thinking about life and about your purpose, your mission, why you are here doing basically what you do, the way you think about everything? Well, if you have, this episode is for you. Jenny and I will share the skills that you need to discover your deeper purpose and build your legacy. So let's get started.
Your purpose is the key to creating significance and will keep you motivated and alive. This is your big picture and will keep you focused on your contribution. What's important to you? What is the legacy that you're trying to build in your career? For me, I saw my dad and mom work really hard to raise us 4 kids. And so I grew up taking care of myself because I felt like I was a huge burden to them. Working multiple jobs before and after school, and because I didn't want to ask any money from them. Mm-hmm. I moved across Canada to explore more opportunities, and codependency wasn't really an option for me. So I didn't really know how to take care of anybody else except for myself. So fast forward post-university, and I was debt-free. I purchased my first home. I wanted to empower women to stand for parity and be more self-reliant. Being able to move out of the house and call my own shots, earn my own money, I was able to build my own success in my own way.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. You know how with every Asian family, parents want you to be what they call, what they want, right?
It's pretty typical.
Either a doctor or a dentist, an accountant. Was your parents the same?
Well, I know that traditional Chinese families are, but my parents were okay with me being whatever I wanted to be, so I do thank them for that. However, I have friends and other family members where their parents did not share that opinion.
Did your parents compare at all, or your aunts and uncles compare you guys? Like
my aunts and uncles, yes. Yeah. My aunts and uncles, I think if you're in the habit of comparing, and some people really do care what people think of certain things. Sometimes people will place more emphasis on what type of profession defines a person, and how successful they are. And for me, and I think for my parents, we just don't do that. So I'm really grateful to them for not putting that pressure on me. Mm-hmm. But I do 100% understand where you're coming from, given your story, because I've seen it a lot.
Yeah, and I know that it's a lot easier now to explore, all the different career options nowadays.
Yeah.
I think, being able to live on the West Coast and being a little bit more Western Canadian, I see my nephews and nieces have a little bit of an easier, relaxed kind of, my brothers and sisters aren't expecting them to be, super high profile
or follow in certain footsteps, right? I guess, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask a question then. For you on your journey, Jenny, when you were discovering your deeper purpose, it sounds like your parents had a certain perception of what they might have wanted you to become. But why did you actually decide to get into real estate? And obviously you've been licensed for 17 years now. You have multiple businesses and teams. So why did you make that decision, or what happened during that time, and how did that go over with the parents?
Okay, first off, I have to say I was a bit of a rebel. So anything that my mom told me to do, I did the opposite.
Oh, that's great.
So I mean, my sisters and brothers kind of were a little bit different. So they still live back east, and they're still really close with my parents. But I'm the only one on the West Coast. Sorry, what was your original question?
My original question was, so you've outlined that your parents had certain expectations on you. You were very independent while you were growing up. My question is, since today's topic is discovering your deeper purpose, why did you make the decision to become a real estate agent? So you made the decision to get into the business, and then from there did you actually discover your deeper purpose?
Mm-hmm. I was always actually in the sales and service industry. I was selling cable. I was selling lawnmowers.
Great.
I sold.
You have experience selling them.
I sold plants. but real estate has never been something that I thought of being in. However, it actually ran in the family. My aunt was licensed in Vancouver. She no longer lives here. My uncle is also a realtor in the Toronto district.
Okay.
But I never really asked them questions about the profession. So one day, my aunt gave my resume to her former boss. Former boss was not hiring at that time. So in the same building, he passed on my resume down to another builder, and that's how it all started. I got my first interview there.
Awesome. You kind of fell into it then.
At first, I actually declined the job.
Did you?
I was like, oh, you know what? I have a great job right now. I was in a call center for Shaw Cable at that time. And at that time, we were making commission left, right, and center because I believe they took over from another telephone or cable carrier.
Yes.
And so they were having a hiring frenzy. Their commission structure was really good. And so prior to me leaving Shaw Cable, I was presented with an offer, with a contract to work for that developer, and it was significantly lower, and I actually declined the job at first.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't.
I'm glad I didn't.
I'm glad you got into the industry, or we wouldn't be where we are now. The question I would ask you is, how do your parents feel about your career choice now? I mean, you've accomplished so much.
Well, in my family, there's not a lot of verbal affirmations.
So typical of Asian families.
Right. Growing up, I know that my mom and my dad, they provided us with gifts. That's how they showed love. So I get a lot of birthday cards, I get a lot of Christmas cards, hey, I'm proud of you, but it's actually the ones that are pre-written and templated into the cards.
That's okay, they're still saying it.
I guess that's good enough, but I kind of know, I know they're proud of me. You know, my mom's my #1 fan. I see her liking every photo, I see her liking every tweet, and she's the first one to always see the stories on my post.
I think you can agree then, based on that, if she wasn't actually proud of you, that wouldn't be happening.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
So then you are where you are now. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
How did you discover your deeper purpose, I guess, in life and in your business? Because the reality, folks, is that we're not just what we do. That doesn't actually make up who you are.
Well, okay, we're gonna go deeper into this, huh? I may cry. Well,
we're being real, and that's just how it's going to be. Go ahead. I'm not going to judge you. Can we get some tissues here, please?
Well, this could be a therapeutic session for me.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, I was in an unhealthy relationship for 12 years. I was very successful in my profession and very embarrassed that my marriage was failing, because on the outside it looked perfect. Built a great house. In fact, I can actually see my house from this window, my old house. I had a boat, I had nice cars. I got caught up in the image and the lifestyle. But on the inside, behind the walls and behind the doors, we just weren't getting along. You know, it wasn't a very healthy environment to be living in. But as time went on, I found out some things that were unacceptable, and what got me through this was being able to be financially independent. And I have to thank my parents for that, because going back again to my earlier story, I worked multiple jobs before and after school, and I didn't want to be a burden to my family, so I was able to just pick up and go and leave my house for that. Well,
I really appreciate you sharing that story with me and our listeners, because folks, it's not easy to do that. It's something really personal, and obviously that has helped shape Jenny's, I guess, deeper purpose of where and how she wants to live her life, and she's incorporated that into her business. So my question for you guys is, where would you be able to do the same thing?
And Toni, you want to share your story? And
sure.
Why you're in this business?
Which one first? So I have a story, but what? Ask me the question. What do you want to know, and I'll be an open book.
So Toni, we go through these moments in our life where we do a lot of self-discovery. And at some point you have to think, what am I doing this for? And you kind of lose yourself in a way when you have other people to think of. We're creating this business that serves our life rather than serving the business, and so we want to build this legacy of what's important to us.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're in that position too at this point.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the question, if the question was what is the legacy that I'd be creating for myself?
Yeah, what's your deeper purpose?
My deeper purpose. Okay. What I want to create in the world is a business that I can be proud of and stand by, and a business basically that helps people, whether it be my teammates, my colleagues, and also the people that hire us to work for them. I want that business to reflect the values that are important to me. Now, I didn't always know what values were important to me, so I'll go there in a minute. But I'm very clear on that now. And I also, for my legacy, want to live a life where my family and the people important to me know that they come first rather than the business, because when I first got into real estate, I was terrible at showing people how much they meant to me. When you're starting to build a business from scratch, especially, you're building it from nothing. There was a story that I would tell myself, which is you have to work harder and longer and do more in order to have the results that would basically show that I've actually achieved something.
Yeah, you have to hustle.
That's right. So I did a lot of that in, I would say, so I was licensed at the end of 2010. I did that until around 2015. For those of you that don't know me, I had my first child in 2015. So the pace that I was working at the time for my business was something that was very much unsustainable. I mean, honestly, it makes me feel bad when I think about how many family dinners that I missed out on, how many friends' birthday parties I did not make on the weekend, how many, supporting people's really big life achievements because I had appointments and I was very active. So what happened was, in relating, I guess, these values and this legacy that I want to create for myself, there was something that happened that brought this out. So in 2015, after the birth of my son, I had my health decline substantially. It was really bad. So actually the pregnancy was difficult, but during that time I never was kind to myself. I did not give myself a break. I still continued to door knock. Like, picture a lady waddling because my stomach was so big. My son was born like 88th percentile. I'm 5 feet, and at the time I'm normally very light. But I was doing all of these skills and all of these actions that weren't kind to myself. What I actually needed was rest at the time, and I needed to work less. So the result was that the pregnancy was very difficult. The birth was very difficult as well, and I had a whole bunch of very serious health problems directly after. It took them about 2 years to figure out what it was. So I, during that time, would see a cardiologist, an internist, because there was some kind of organ failure after I had my son. Now, this is the crazy thing, is that I didn't realize at the time how important and significant this was for me. Because how I was actually operating was that right after the emergency C-section, the next day, I had my dad bring my computer to the hospital room. I replied to the emails that I needed to because I also had appointments set for the following week, because I like to plan things. And in my plan, the plan was that I would have my son naturally. I'd be at work the next week. That just didn't happen in real life. It was really fun. This plan's not working. It's not happening. So instead it was emergency C-section. I couldn't walk after, and then there was some organ problems and that kind of thing, which we needed to sort out. So fast forward to, it was 2 years later, I was still working at that capacity, but every day was a struggle. I would get up. I was a part of a 4 a.m. club. So I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You check in with other realtors nationwide. It was how you start your day, and it was very, very organized. Like, that plan works for a certain level of success when you are already healthy and, you know, in control of your life. I clearly was not in control of my life. So in 2018, it was, 2018, they actually finally got a diagnosis because it was just so brutal, and I didn't change anything. I didn't rest more.
3 years later.
Yeah, it was like 2.5, 3 years later, because the treatment was, I think it was 11 months, because I had one relapse after. I still worked, but then I was allowing myself more rest. So what I realized during that time, and it was such an epiphany, it really was, because I don't look at that time in a bad way. It was actually a very difficult time. There were times when I was so ill from the treatments that I couldn't leave the washroom. So my husband sometimes would stay outside of the washroom because he didn't know if I was actually okay. And obviously I was still running my business, still looking after my son, who at the time was 3 or 4. That was hard too, because they require a lot of special attention, and I didn't know where to divide the time. So what I sacrificed was my rest and the time for my self-care. I had none. It was like business, family, business, family, business, family, and that was pretty much it. And what came out of it was that it was the best blessing of my entire life. I realized that in order for me to be truly successful, it didn't matter how much money that I made. I implemented things immediately during the treatment phase, because quite frankly, I was so ill that I couldn't actually do all of the things that I would normally do. And also, I had conversations with all of the clients that I had at the time, letting them out of their contracts if they so desired, because I didn't think I would be able to service them in the way that they deserved.
Right.
Well, the interesting thing was that actually every single one of them stayed. And they're like, it's okay, you have a team in place. We'll just work with them. This is completely understandable. And to be honest, I really did not want to share with them that I was that sick.
Why did you want to let go of your business so that you have a circle of realtors in your family?
Yeah, because at the time, I don't think I did a proper job of setting it up in the way, like now I'd be fine leaving and just leaving it with them. But I'm also a control freak, if you remember I mentioned before, and I like it done. I have a perfectionist problem too. I like it done in a specific way. I like their experience to be amazing, nothing short of amazing. If it's short of amazing, the job was not done. So to tie it back in with legacy, I think that I had said a comment earlier, which is you're not what you do. Like I'm definitely not what I do. And there were some times when it was really bad where I never thought back on the amount of production that I had. I thought back about what happens if my family will not be able to, like I need to be here in order to look after them. So if I'm not, that was the only thing I was thinking of. It wasn't about the success in real estate. It wasn't about the alliances that I had formed. That actually was non-existent to me. I wouldn't have known that had I not gone through that struggle. And now I'm just interested in creating great opportunities for people. I mean, this is a great opportunity too. The podcast is so wonderful because we can reach so many people, and we want to hear your stories as well. But I just really believe that life's purpose is to bring people together. Like, this will sound cheesy to people that are a bit more negative, but to bring people together, to have them perform at their highest good, and to really support one another. So my hope from this podcast is that you guys feel the same way, and that you reach out to us and let us know how we can help.
And ask the right questions.
That's right. Yeah. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah, for those who are listening in, you can't see us, but Toni is actually pregnant. When are you due, Toni?
I'm due September 25th.
All right, September baby. What have you learned during this experience of your first child, where you're not going to be experience again?
Oh, I'm taking 3 months off for sure, so my team's set up for that. And also, what was the other thing that
Can you tell the audience who's listening, because most of them will be realtors.
Yes.
What kind of systems have you put in place so that you are communicating the right message to your clients?
So for any new business that we take on, I always make sure that a team member is there. they've already been trained properly too. I mean, we all have the same values. We're very much aligned in terms of the customer care, what we want to provide to clients, so that's not an issue at all. It's also about hiring and working with the right people. And I would say the lines of communication, both electronically and our process with dealing with situations, has been well defined. So our clients know who specifically they can talk to, what is happening at all times with either their purchase or their sale. And they also know that they can still reach out to me. It's just that I'm not going to be able to show up in person. If it was something really important, you can still call.
And you know what we often forget is that we are humans.
Yeah.
They are very, very forgiving on us.
Very much so, but I feel like people are more understanding than I had given them credit for. And that could have been because I didn't want to ever show any type of vulnerability, which is why I also didn't want people to know that I was sick.
Right.
And now it's just a reality. When I surrendered to that, I'm like, it is what it is. That is what is. Let it go. And let things go that don't belong to you. So for example, one other thing that came out of that and how we run our business is we don't take everything on where we don't feel that we're a good fit, or certain people that would want to work with us that we just don't want to. The answer is no, and we're not afraid of. There can't be a correlation between doing that and worrying about the fact that your business will not be successful. I'm telling you 100%, your business will be successful when you learn to say no, set the boundaries, and work with the people that deserve your attention. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
For that. Well, I gained a deeper understanding of having courage. You know, I was in the clouds for a very, very long time, and it's really important to understand ourselves by doing a lot of introspective work.
Yes.
It takes a lot of digging, and it's quite liberating to feel that sense of self-mastery and to be able to speak out.
Do you have any tips for people on how to discover their deeper purpose?
It's what makes them happy.
It is. But maybe even like setting aside time to go there. People don't really set aside time to go there and figure out what's really truly important to them.
You know, I did a lot of self-discovery while I was on vacation. I took a lot of time off on my own and explored the city, but at the same time sat in silence. Meditation helps a lot too.
It so does.
And just being comfortable in solidarity and being comfortable with hearing your own voice. So it's really important to be able to break free from being dependent on external inspiration and trying to find some sort of outside demands that will confuse you, in a way where you lose touch with who you really are, and you lose touch with the vision of what you originally want to serve. So that I would probably say, just sit in silence, listen to your own voice.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice. It's great advice. Also, gratitude journals.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
That's so good.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so is there anything else you want to add before we...
No, I don't think so. I just think that we want you guys to discover your deeper purpose as well. We hope that if you haven't yet, that it's coming soon, and that you put in the time to discover that and have it work in all aspects of your life, your business and your personal life.
Well, Toni, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm very sorry you had to go through all that difficulty during your pregnancy.
No, it was the best. It was a blessing.
Yeah. Well, you're a remarkable human being, and I'm excited how our friendship is evolving. You know, before this, we didn't spend too much time together, but again, this energy that we had immediately when we met, I knew that we were going to be friends for life. So I just want to make this a very safe environment without judgment, without any holding back, just entirely uncensored content. So we welcome a lot of feedback. We're hungry to learn more from each other. We want to learn more about ourselves as we talk about this and unfold a lot of these stories, and be able to share it with everyone.
Yep, and we want to learn more about you as well.
Yeah, this is really therapeutic for me in a way. I mean, I've gone through a lot of drama, and I've never really sought any help for it. So this is really good for me, actually. Well, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you, Toni, and with the listeners.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget to hit subscribe, write a review, and share a profile with your friends and family and your peers. Talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.